Hello, folks. Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. You know what? James Carville's still right, all right? It's the economy, stupid. That was the phrase he coined in the 1992 presidential election and more or less was a guiding light during the Bill Clinton years. So I'm going to give a huge hat tip to Judge Glock of the Manhattan Institute for his excellent op-ed piece in today's Wall Street Journal entitled, U.S. Voters Want Limited Government, Contrary to Common Belief. Economic policy is an electoral strength for the Republican Party. And if I may summarize Mr. Judge's thoughts, the idea is so-called culture war wedge issues don't work near as well for the GOP as the mainstream media might suggest, or frankly, as some Republicans have been suggesting. Now, caveat emptor. I'm not suggesting the GOP stop talking about all the crazy woke cancel culture, end American history, open borders, sex, gender, race obsessions going on in our schools. I'm not saying these aren't important issues. Mr. Glock doesn't go into any detail on any of that anyway. But I am saying it's all a matter of degree, and I say that as a pro-life social conservative who continues to believe, however, that economic growth and prosperity has been and will always be the winningest issue for Republican candidates, especially for national office, and most especially for president. Now, the populist issue has been and remains limited government for nearly 50 years, maybe even more for all I know. The majority of Americans believe that government is too large and that taxes are too high. And as Gallup polling continues to point out, whenever asked if voters prefer less services and lower taxes compared to more government services and higher taxes by massive margins, according to Mr. Glock's research, from a low of 17 percentage points in 2019 recently up to 31 points 2 years later. Same. Gallup's been taking this poll forever. Those are just the last couple of years. Those results, which I think you'd agree with, starkly underline the limited government point. I would probably go a step further and say all presidential elections are decided by the outlook for peace and prosperity. Right now, with the Biden economy mired in stagflation, with the growing risk of outright recession, along with sticky high prices, the limited government economic message will be even more important for the GOP. Joe Biden has given us the biggest volume of big government any of us have seen in our lifetime, at least excluding World War II. Just the recent EPA regulations would have the federal government essentially running a car industry, really running a car industry, which is America's fifth biggest, and virtually ending the fossil fuel business. Biden's spending on an unprecedented scale all across the board. Social welfare benefits just recently proposed to include illegal immigrants into the Obamacare subsidies. Of course, trillions of dollars on unproven Green New Deal climate obsessions, never any work requirements in return for the federal benefits. His recent budget added $5 trillion in tax hikes, and it's roughly raised, I don't know, already at least $1 trillion in taxes so far. It's all government on a grand scale. Government, government, government. You know, many have said it's a takeover of the Biden administration by socialist Bernie Sanders. Yes, but Mr. Sanders loves Sweden. Joe Biden's big government socialism has gone way beyond Sweden. Taking a cue from my dear friend and mentor, Art Laffer, who's going to be here in just a moment, we both have been worried that the Republican leaders have not yet produced a true prosperity agenda, showing voters that they are capable and reliable guardians of economic growth. Now, that's why it's good to see Governor DeSantis, for example, going after the inflationary policies of the Federal Reserve just recently, as highlighted in today's Wall Street Journal. Also good to say today, I think, former President Trump out with a paper and a video called Liberating America from Biden's Regulatory Onslaught. All the Republican leaders have to talk about limited government, lower taxes, minimal regulations, and a sound, stable king dollar. All of them should state the goal of at least 3.5% to 4% growth long term. You know, that prevailed for 50 years after World War II, but it slumped to less than 2% the last 25 years. Let's not ignore the culture war issues. I'm not saying it. But let's remember the GOP does best when it sticks with first principles, limited government and economic growth. All right? That is my thought.